Holy rusted metal, Bat family.
Perfect.
We're back for episode 24. And guess who's leading it today? Hey, guys, it's Jason. You're welcome. We have Mark and Scott over here today.
Hey, Jason.
Mark, how you doing today?
I'm good. Made it through the storms all right. No power outages, everything. And I got to play some really banger games recently. So, pretty good. Scott, how you feeling over there?
Oh, not too bad. Got to play some good games. Thankfully, the storms that came in, nothing bad. So that was good. Anything happened with you over there, Jason?
Just getting back into the groove of things. We've had a very eventful last couple weeks, but thankfully my significant other Maria is back in town. She just got back in from Iceland because their derby team got to go over and play against Team Iceland, which is so awesome.
Super cool.
And mind you, for people that don't know, that's a rarity with an out of the country team going, hey, you want to come? They're very picky as to who they choose. Yeah. So that's super, that's a major honor.
And all of them had a great time over there. Got to go ahead and talk with her today about all the kind of cool things and see some pictures and whatnot. And we're probably already talking about how we're going to move to Iceland, but that's that's in the future.
My recording setup can do remote.
It's mobile.
I can take remotes. That's all I'm saying.
It's going to be really bad for you when we have to play D&D and it's still 4 o'clock in the afternoon, means it's midnight for you.
Hey, depending upon the type of work I get over there, that could be fine.
That's fair. You do work a crazy schedule now.
Yeah. 4 a.m. is rough. Well, for our first segment today, we're going to go ahead and do What's on the Table. So, Merc.
Yo.
What have you been having on the table lately?
It's been a good month so far, actually, and I do a thing on the All You Can Board Discord with a whole slew of people. On the first of every month, we talk about, what games did we play in the prior month. We show our stats, all that, because we're all nerds and BG Stats is great. And I'm really surprised they don't sponsor us yet, the amount we talk about them. But the past couple months, I've been averaging 20 plays. It's been really thin. Things have been busy. I've gotten a lot played. I've even got some weird fun stuff played that I have been trying to get tabled. I finally got Scott to try Tribes of the Wind.
Yeah.
I still like that game. Still want to play it with more people, but still really enjoy that one. We have some Kickstarter stuff that we've been playing that has been enjoyable, and we're looking forward to doing some content there. But we finally got Veil of Eternity back to the table, and we got Fractured Sky played. You guys finally got to play Freedom 5, and I almost use it for a segment later, but I finally gotten to sit down with Mansions of Madness, and boy howdy, that one is super fun. Really been enjoying that. So we really got to go through and clean out a lot of the what do we need to play for content stuff, and I'm very happy about that.
That is awesome news. And Scott, how about you?
So besides all the stuff that Mark brought up, I was lucky. I did the Kickstarter for the 4 small boxes that came out from All Play. So that was Money and Ruins and Oddland and Vegas Strip. I went over to my buddy Eric's house that he's been on the podcast before.
Heard him on episode 20.
I brought Ruins because it's card crafting. It's by John D. Clare. So if you've played Mythic Vale or Custom Heroes, that's him. And it's very much a smoothed down version of Custom Heroes. Really had a blast with that.
Really want to try that now.
Yeah, we got to play The Gang, which love that game. Frosthaven happened. Middle Ages happened. Middle Ages was such a banger.
Again, that could have been used in the segment later because we both went into that one thing it'll be fine. It's tiling. I like tiling.
Oh, was not expecting that. Yeah,
we both were like, Jason's gonna like this one.
Oh, yeah.
Super enjoyable.
Okay, oh, yeah. Okay. You can choose to play mean. We sat there with, okay, I don't want to take that one. That's going to be nasty. It's like, okay, cool. Now I can take it. It doesn't hurt you.
I like that.
We did it that way. And both did really, really, I don't even remember who won. Did you won by a couple?
I won it by 20 points because I had the wheat thing or something. I had something that it was, it was the difference of the points I stole from you.
Yes, that's right. You had one, it was 4 points. He had the one of the abilities was, hey, I have to take these from you. It literally was just that.
126 to 123 was our score.
Yeah. And it was he had stole 3 points.
Wow.
It was literally the action. He's like, there was no way I could defend myself because
And it wasn't intentional. I told him it's just the way my Tableau has built itself that this is going to happen. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
and that was the difference.
But literally that was the difference. And I was like, banger game.
I have to say, when it comes to point games like that, I absolutely love when it's those close games and you just are by just a few points off. I will take that game over like a wide margin any day.
So long as a wide margin can happen, I generally agree. Because if it's always a nail biter, like, okay, there's not enough tension, there's not enough slack in the design. Yeah. But yeah, in games like that, it feels good of like, what did you get? And then Scott and I will just like, no, you say first. No, you say first.
Well, what was so funny is that we had came from two totally different angles because I was doing the farmers because if you have a bunch of farmers in your field, when I was counting points like up to 10, but it was all that stuff that he had done that had kept him just enough of a lead that I caught up to him. But yeah, it was the 3 points that he stole in that very first round.
Let's put it this way. After the first play of it, we looked at each other and said, oh, we're going to have to do a review on this. This is too good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
What about you, Jason? What have you gotten a chance to play? Besides the stuff that you played with us.
Well, there's a couple things that I know that you guys hadn't mentioned that we got to go ahead and throw down on. We played our Midwestern game of euchre.
We did. We did get to play euchre. It was great.
Which I absolutely love that when Mark and I are on the same team, and we have never played euchre together before until this time.
And I love you, Clarky, but I swear to God, if you do not learn how to read your partner's face, I'm going to hurt you.
I mean, we still beat you 2-1.
But
yes, because my partner was never reading my stuff.
The first game we lost handily, but the
like
second
10-7.
The second two, we did a pretty darn good job. Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it does to me because I lost the other two.
But knowing that we both knew what being in the barn was about,
it's a good day for me.
We both just lit up.
Just
like,
validated.
I knew it too. I just don't do the milking thing. So
we were
because
milking.
Every day deserves some whimsy, Scott.
Yes,
and so therefore, I'll pop out the
Get some
other.
milk.
Actually, you know what's so funny is when you guys did that, I remember that my ex-girlfriend, she used to do that. And I was like, no.
Not today. No, one of the really cool ones that we got to go ahead and put down on. Actually, I'll go ahead and mention two. One of which is from Grand Gamers Guild, Endangered, a Game of Survival by Joe Hopkins. This one was a really, really cool cooperative game that was just, it has such a like surreal feeling of, you look at it and you're like, man, I understand how all of these conservationists are struggling to go ahead and keep some of these species from becoming extinct. And one of the awesome parts about it is you have several different people like philanthropists, you have a lawyer, you have a zoologist. There's a plethora of different choices to pick from that all have varying different abilities, powers that feel very appropriate for the process, or at least the perceived process of how you would make sure that these species don't become extinct and some of the problems that they face.
We all walked away very impressed by the design on that one.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was very excited to see it. It just really kind of sung with me for it. The second game is another one that we're doing some content for later, is Realms of Reckoning from Ivy Studios. That one we got to go ahead and play, and I know that we have some different opinions on like the artwork and stuff. I loved this neon gothic artwork for it, and it just seemed like a very fun, cool game that you could either have a lot of backstory into, or you can create backstory into it and just kind of have it be a light game that you play, or you have some really cool experiences that you can kind of doll up and make it into a, RPG style, pretend to be this type of people or pretend to be this type of people. So it was a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, nice.
I'm very excited to go ahead and talk about both of those and dig in a little bit more into Endangered and see what some of the other scenarios have.
Okay, so welcome to the topic of the week. This one is a little weird because it popped into my head when I was doing the editing of episode 22, and it just seemed like a fun conversation because, Scott, we've heard your Wingspan at Gen Con story a few different times on the pod, and when I'm sitting there and I think about, boy, I love viticulture, but you know what I really don't care about? The practice of viticulture. And so our topic of the week this week is just games that we care about and themes we don't, because we're all fairly theme-forward people. I can let more of a theme go if the mechanisms are strong enough, but we can all, I think, admit pretty games are more fun to play, and good production will pull us past disliking or not caring about something if it is just that strong.
Agreed.
Yeah, that really, really kind of resonates because I have a huge thing about theme. So a lot of the games that I have personally will have heavy themes to them or IPs that back them up. But there are so many games that you have brought out to me that I would have never looked at. And now I look at it, and if you would say, yeah, we're going to go and play this today, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this. I'm excited.
I both love and am baffled by the fact that it's summer camp that is perpetually the game that comes up for you in a discussion like this, because that's actually a perfect example for me. I never went to summer camp. I always wanted to go, but I never went to it. Normally shouldn't care about it. That game is so stinking fun.
It is a ton of fun. And there is absolutely zero reason that it is called summer or themed summer camp, because you could go ahead and slap on whatever other theme to go ahead and make it work.
That's true.
And it would go ahead and work in some form or sense. But they just did a cool job with the art. They went ahead and made all of the different avenues to point scoring just mesh really well for the different themes of summer camp. So it was one of those things where when you brought it out, I was like, why the heck am I going to... Maybe I'll just watch you guys play and I'll see what it's... I almost offered to do that. And then all of a sudden, I dug in. I'm like, all right, we'll go ahead and give it a shot. And I was like, why do I like this game? Same thing, Q-Birds. Why? Why do I give a flying hoot about these birds? But it's such a dumb game that you really don't need to have it be birds. It could be whatever. It could be beavers for all I care. I'll still play that game.
Yeah.
The games that come to my brain, I'm not a huge Western fan, but 3,000 Scoundrels is a great game. Few and the Cursed is still a really good game.
The Few and Cursed is so good. And I know you don't care for it. You need to read the comic. The comic is great.
And maybe that would help me with it a little bit more, but it's
Do you want to read it?
But it's a great game.
We got to go C2E2 this last time in Chicago.
Yeah.
The Few and the Curse creators were there. And
Fabiano was there?
Yep. And they had a few of the graphic novels to be able to go ahead and give out some of the special...
Fabian Canio, that's his name.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Some of the special covers and whatnot that you can go ahead and get. So Maria picked them up because I had just oozed about the game and the art and the backstory of it. And I was like, if you want to go ahead and get in and read a comic, this is one for you. Yeah. It is so cool, so forward. And, he even he signed them and, had a little affectation in the beginning. I was like, this is so cool.
Another game that actually is kind of interesting, and I do like it. I wish I need to play it more, but Smartphone. Just the mechanisms of the game, but a smartphone? Really? Because you're sitting there okay, great. I spend a lot of time on my smartphone, and then you play the game.
Have you played it?
Smartphone?
Yeah, Smartphone
No,
Inc.
I have not.
So Smartphone Inc.
I need to play Mobile Market.
Yeah, we have that over there to play and do some content with. But Smartphone Inc., you are just manufacturing and selling smartphones. That's it. That is the catch of the game. And depending on player count am I selling directly to consumers or am I selling to markets in stores that are then selling them on, all that. It's a very dry economic game. Mm-hmm. But that theme and the way the action selection is done, because you have these pads, is what they call them, and you have to cover up at least one icon on one of them. And you cannot do a full flush cover, so you have to have them offset in some way. And depending on what icons you have showing, that's what you're doing.
It's wild.
That's cool.
So cool.
It makes it look like the apps are on your phone.
Yeah, that's pretty neat.
It's a neat way to have your action selection. It just sings really, really well. But it's smartphone. It's an economic smartphone game. Mm-hmm. It's just wild.
That's a great choice for this.
Yeah.
And that's one of those games where if I saw it on the shelf originally, I probably just would have given it a glance and why am I getting a smartphone game?
And the whole thing is, it was one of those things that kind of going back to the original story of Wingspan. It was one of those, hey, you want to play this with me? And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I don't care about smartphones. I have one in my pocket. It costs me a lot of money and I don't really think about it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you sit down and you start playing the game and you're like, oh man, this is a really good mechanic.
I mean, I know people have made the comment of do awards and things. Does that really pull you in? The reason I looked at Smartphone the very first time is because it had the Dice Tower Essentials line on it.
That's true.
That goes a long way with me. I know some of them are not going to be for me. I have played some of them, and Sheriff of Nottingham, Robin Hood's fine.
It's okay.
It's a fine story, whatever. But I love negotiation games, and I love bluffing. And so, that was an easy one for me to get into. And then I saw, and I'm like, okay, that's there. That's ironically not part of the Dice Tower Essentials anymore. Not that we're here to talk about the Dice Tower Essentials, but that's why I got a smartphone.
Right.
Hands down, yeah.
Another one that I would have never really been interested in the theme until we got into the bread and butter of it is Captain Sonar. have never
What, you don't
really
like big, hard military games?
I've never really been into like naval combat. Battleship was never a thing that I wanted to play when I was a kid, and just like submarines just seemed like they were just little like pop cans that went underwater, and you're just stuck in there for months and years at a time. I was like, why would I like this? But Captain Sonar is so much fun, and it makes you want to like pull your hair out at some points, but it's the thrill
Or
of
have
the
a
game.
panic attack.
You feel so
Yes.
cool when you're not having a panic attack.
Yes.
You're like, look what we did as a team.
And in all honesty, that game is the closest that I have ever felt to like Captain Kirk when it's when you're playing a game, because playing as the captain, you're just sitting there like, all right, we're going to do this. We're going to set phasers to stun. We're going to go ahead and go to warp 9, all this stuff. And people are just like, what are you doing? And somehow it works.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's
that's
so gorgeous.
That's another fun one.
So besides viticulture, what do you have on your list?
So I actually have a variety of things because I'm like, I don't know, do I want to talk about this from these specific games? Do I want to talk about this from a theme and then like mention a game, whatever? So I have this whole pile of stuff. One of the ones I have to mention just because we just recorded something else that made me think of it. I don't particularly care about Paleolithic stuff.
Okay.
I still can't explain why I like Endless Winter. It is just mechanism soup. You see all the stitches, but man, if I don't like that game. I almost in my big call I just went through. I put it on the pile. I'm like, Scott doesn't want to play it. Like, it has all these issues. And then I was going through. I'm like, no, but dang it, I like it. I put it back on the shelf.
The biggest eye roll from Scott.
I'm surprised it's not audible at this point.
That's fair. But there's a really interesting kind of boom recently. Well, not recently, ever since Wingspan came out.
Yeah.
Of nature games. And
Yeah.
like that is a direct exacting point of nature games were nothing, and then there was Wingspan, and now they're everywhere.
Oh yeah.
Meadow is not a game I've played because I don't care about the theme. I like Set Collection. Rebel does good production. See Nemesis. But, I didn't care about that. But Cascadia? Love Cascadia. And I love it for that theme of what animals are going to the various biomes and whatever. Like, so that one's right on the list for me. But probably the biggest thing, because we just mentioned economic games. They're for economic people. I love you, Austin. You play some very boring, mean games. But Furnace is a game that I adore, despite it being industrial revolution of, hey, we're going to go kill the planet for a few dollars. Like, man, Furnace is good. And then you look at something like Kanban EV, where it's nothing against manufacturing. I don't find it interesting. I don't really want to take part in it. I've never had to work in manufacturing. I've worked plenty of other service jobs and blue-collar level jobs, but I have never been in manufacturing. But man, Kanban EV, especially on cars, I don't really care about cars. Like, they get me from point A to point B. Sometimes they look cool. I don't really care. But Kanban EV, like, oh man, let me design the car. Let's put it on the design track, roll it out onto the test track. Like, it's so cool. That game is so much fun, and I have zero reason to like it.
That's a very, very valid statement.
But that game, literally, there's no money. There's no, like, what happens to the cars afterward. It's just, let's make some cars, put them on track, have a meeting about it, repeat.
Wow.
Should not care about that game.
But it sounds like fun.
It is so good.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess what we can sit there and take away from the conversation is like, still look at the games that don't have an interest to you, because you never know what's going to spark your interest.
Because I think it goes back to what especially you and I are okay with, of if the mechanisms are strong enough, and in all the games that we have mentioned, the mechanisms are strong and they're well designed and they're there, and then the theme just super injects them.
Right.
I guess to stay on the car theme.
Yep.
And that's why I'm there, right? That's why I want to play.
There's plenty of games out there that you're going to see on the shelves, you're going to see at the conventions, you're going to be like, there is no reason why I'm going to like this game. And then you're going to play it, and you're going to be like, man, I was wrong. Because you're going to fall in love with it. Maybe it's not going to be something that you're going to want to own, but when someone puts it on the table, you're like, I'm so in. All these games that we all talked about, we're all going, other than for Captain Sonar, I'm interested in all your guys' games.
It's interesting. It wasn't something that I intended as part of the conversation, because it literally didn't come up until you were just talking just now. It's really the point of why did I play that?
Yeah.
Of, don't be put off by something, because there's a very realistic chance you'll find something you love in something that you would have not otherwise partaken in.
And that's what we do, is we always sit there like, okay, how is this going to sing? I know Scott doesn't like this mechanic. I know Mark hates Pentominoes. Here's this thing that Jason's not a fan of. Can I make him like something of it? Or can at least get him to have a neutral review instead of a negative review? Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of the times what we've come to, is at least gone from negative to neutral. Not all the time. Sometimes we've gone from neutral to negative.
And I think it's really cool to go ahead and have lists like the Gen Con preview on Board Game Geek, or just perusing stuff like GameFound and Kickstarter to go ahead and look at some of the games that are coming up and see what the details of the games are, so that even though you might not initially like the box art or the theme of it, like a cell phone game, but you go ahead and look at it a little bit more, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, these are some cool components. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know this mechanism could be used for that. Or like, oh my goodness, this is really cool. When you have those natural reactions, and it's to something completely mundane to you. So definitely go ahead and take at least a cursory look at things, because you don't want to go ahead and have that FOMO and then realize that game was like game of the year. Mm-hmm. And now you can't find it.
Yeah, it's great to have an opinion. It's better to have an informed opinion.
Yep.
And also allow it to be changed.
Yeah. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and move on into our next segment.
This is arguably Jason's favorite segment.
Arguably?
It definitely is my favorite segment.
It is Why Did I Play That? And technically, I hit you both with this one because we were playing all sorts of crazy games. And it's a game I've mentioned before in the past. It is one of my favorite trick-taking games, and that would be the 1997 release from Yellow of the game called Nyet. Nyet is a simple trick taker. I say simple just because if you've played a trick taker, you know the basic mechanics. The difference here is that you are going to, as individuals, choose what is not going to be part of the game. So you're going to choose who gets to be the first player by choosing who is not going to be the first player. You're going to choose what is not trump, eventually leaving what is going to be trump, deciding whether there is or is not super trump, depending on how many points those are worth, and depending on how many cards are going to be discarded, whether it is you discard anything or you discard nothing. I love this game. I still love this game. Even though it went horribly wrong for one of us, and I still lost, still didn't care. I had a great time. And for 1997, it is a decent rule book. It has good rules. It's readable. I enjoy the art. I think it's simple and simplistic for what it needed for that time frame. Because, of course, we are looking at quite a few years ago. Trick-taking games weren't a ton out there.
That weren't in a deck of 52, yeah.
Yeah, because this is not it wasn't a standard of 52. There was actually like 60 cards. It goes up to 13. So it's triple ones up to 13. So it's actually like 15 cards per suit. So yeah, I was right. 60. Hey, look at me. I did math, but we know that I loved this game. Of course, I'm still going to play this game. I'm going to pitch it to Jason first because you won.
Yeah.
And you're going to be the more neutral. And welcome to your first. Why did I play that? Because you technically were not the target of this. So
no.
It does play to two players, but you even said it's better to play with three. So we played
with three.
Yeah.
I think that Nyet has some very interesting things that you can go ahead and throw out there. When they have a variable amount of cards that go from 1 to 10, 1 to 11, 1 to 12, all the way up to 13, depending upon your player count, that is very interesting to me. Also, the asymmetric amount of cards that are in the deck makes it very interesting to see how the game plays. It mixes up that idea of trick-taking. The big thing for me was that since every round, you guys essentially knock out different things for who plays first, discarding, all of that stuff. There is this really interesting and cool way of saying, all right, I have this type of hand and I need to prioritize to either say we're not going to have this as trump, or we're not going to have you as the first player because this is the type of hand that I'm going to go ahead and have, and I need to be able to play in the middle, or I need to play first, or I need to play last, or, I really, really have a bunch of ones in this color, so I want to make sure that we have this type. It's interesting and fun, and I know I've said interesting a lot, but it really is on how customizable each trick can be and how each round can turn out to be. The huge part that made it really cool for me and the build of it is that you can choose how many points per trick people are going to get. The huge one for me is the -2 aspect. For someone who in euchre will constantly go ahead and get 9s and 10s in their hand and be 4-suited almost every time he gets dealt, even when he's the dealer. It's very cool to go ahead and see, like, all right, if I have this really bad hand that I know I'm not going to go and win anything on, I want to go ahead and make sure that we have that -2. I will try to posture different things on the board so that I make sure that -2 is the amount of points that we're going to have for this game.
Right.
So there are some really cool things there. The artwork, I think, is cute. They have different types of animals for your different player stacks. So it is cool in that aspect. I do have a little bit of a critique for a couple things. The odd player count is kind of a miss for me.
Does that mechanism exist in a 5-player game?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're talking about the mechanism. So if the player count is 2 or 4, I mean, obviously you're in 2s, you're all by yourself. In 4, you have a partner. Whoever is the first player gets to choose who their partner is. In a 3 to 5 player game, the odd person out that doesn't have a partner gets a ×2 card, so that every trick that they do take is worth double the points or double the negative points, just to kind of balance out that aspect of only getting one trick at a time.
And just to go ahead and point it out, because I think this is really important for the game, how you figure out in those odd numbered games who is going to be paired up is who the first player is. And after everybody Nyets who gets to go first, you have whoever first player is essentially gets to go ahead and dictate, all right, this is going to be my partner. So the other person's going to go ahead and be alone essentially and get those ×2 cards to be able to use. And you just automatically gain twice however many tricks you take for that, which could be to benefit or detriment. And I think that's a good segue to lead into Mark's point of view.
Boy, I hated this.
Yeah, I know.
That certainly didn't help it. That mechanism did not help, because in reality, what ended up happening is you could very easily earn as many or more points than the team that took twice as many as you did.
Right.
And I understand that's the way it is. I was on a team just as much as I was solo, and it was miserable the whole time because I have a couple of major issues with the game. The first is it is 16 tricks if you have everything. And when you're doing the at most discard 2, that means you're playing 14 tricks. That is too much. Just strictly too much. In a game like Skull King or The Crew, it's fine to have 10 cards because of the way the structure of those games works. And you know that in Skull King, by the time you get to 10, you have played 9 previous hands. You have played at every one of those card counts, and you have now understood how the cards are going to come out. You have all that. When it comes to 16 tricks, or 14, the way we played most of it, it's just too long, because unfortunately, if you are only playing 14, you didn't pass any cards. You are just stuck with what you were dealt. You're right. In Euchre, it sucks to be dealt 9s and 10s. But you know what a hand of Euchre is? 5 tricks. It is over and done with. This one, because of how long it takes to actually set up each round of, okay, green's not going to be super trump, and green's not going to be the trump suit, so that means all my green cards that I just got dealt to me, well, they're probably going to lose. That sucks, because that means that whatever the other trumps are, they're going to have them and just break all my greens. Again, if you have 5 cards, that doesn't matter. Having 16, that's a big deal.
I think that's also indicative of the time that the game came out.
That's true, but we were playing on a 2018 printing, and so, you know, we call it a second edition, call it whatever. You can adjust rules. You can modernize for that. Because all the things I can complain about, and lack of control is the other one, because when you're sitting there and you're staring at that board, it's like, hey, I need to make sure that I'm the person picking my partner. Never mind, Scott decided to go there and take the last spot, so that way I got blacked out. You can't control it, so you have too many cards that you can't deal with. You can't control your outcome, and if you actually do manage to pull off what you want, it feels completely random, because I can't influence you in any real way of like, don't put it there. Because if you are the first person, now you know you're not going to pick me because I don't have any trump cards. So you can't even discuss what's in your hand even obliquely in that situation. I think what the game would require for me to enjoy it again is fully cutting an entire suit. That's less cards to be dealt, that is less stuff on the board, and it means that you are able to react more easily, because having 16 cards, and I had a hand that I literally had 10 green in, and my cards were junk that round, it meant that I was just basically getting victimized for 10 rounds because you didn't have any of them. And when I played my high ones, you just played a low red card because you were sitting on all the ones. If you only have 3 suits, that is much less likely to happen or have it be quite as damaging. The fact it's 4 suits, 4 colors is just too much.
I don't think it's bad that we have it as 4 suits. I think you don't need those higher end numbers. I think have your triple ones because that's an interesting feature. You don't need 3 of them, but maybe the cards only go up to 7.
Something. I don't know. It's too long. There's not enough control. There's too many tricks. And
Well, I mean, we stopped after 6 hands and we were still had another 3 to go.
the fact that you were supposed to play 3 deals per player.
Oh, that's a lot.
I mean,
will say.
I looked at you
at
and I
5
said, "Can
player-
we please just stop?"
And well, I mean, if there would have been 5 of us, it's at 10.
But it's an important statement.
Yeah.
Because that does not happen. We play things out.
Yeah.
Very true.
But I realized we had at least another half hour of the game that I just did not want to take part in.
Right.
Well, and I think to agree and disagree with some of those statements, from my point of view in it, when you're doing all of the setup on which is Trump, what's not Trump, who's first player, who's gonna be picked together, there is a lot of scheming that can be done there that you can essentially control the narrative for the things that you want not to happen the most, essentially.
Not if you're third in the order and Scott immediately puts out, "This isn't it," and then the next player comes out and says, "This isn't going to be it either." It can just feel random.
But I mean, it happened to me too.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
using that
yeah.
as a woe is me. I'm using it as like, it feels like we spent a lot of time setting this up for what ultimately becomes, again, to me, a random outcome.
Well, at least when we played the first hand, I ended up getting the heavier amount of points, so I got to go and be a little ahead. Mm-hmm. From that point on, I was able to work that board so that I was essentially working with you guys left and right so that I had an even amount of times that I was together with you. But most importantly, I could mitigate the points that you guys would get over me because every other round I essentially got to go and team up with somebody else.
It's just a set of design choices at the end of the day. And like you said, it's a 30-year-old game, so
Yeah.
I can only be so frustrated with it. But at the same time, in the discard row, let it be more than 2. Maybe we discard 5. Maybe we discard 6. Not even as a, I don't want to play 16 tricks, which I don't, but as a, let's see what you're left with. The fact there's only 1 space on there were a couple times I needed it to be negative. And the first thing you did was not negative. Okay, that means it's going to be at least 1 point positive, but that means that I don't have a way to come back out of the hole that I have been dug in. It feels very the rich get richer, which again, game from the 90s going to feel that.
Oh yeah, very much so.
I would agree for that. I think another big benefit to it would be maybe take the 4-point swing off and put on a -1 or a -3.
Well, and also it was when the possibility that he was going to be by himself, the first thing he did was get rid of the -2 because he wanted to make sure that his points didn't get taken away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because in a positive statement, I will say it is interesting to watch the prioritization happen. Like you were saying, of how can I control this to make sure I get to where I'm trying to? And even if you can't inherently get there, you can at least try to see what people are pushing for, so long as, again, you weren't shut out on first pick.
Right.
But that idea of, I want it to be blues, but I need the yellow ones to be the super trump because I have all the yellow ones. And watching that recognition around the table of, do I care to go after the ones right now? Because that set of choices is interesting. I will give the game that.
I didn't think it was gonna like, oh my God, Scott, this is amazing. I'd be like, I want to see
Because
what a 30-year
its
game.
description, and I told you, like, ooh, the -2 thing that's a bit of put off for me.
Yeah.
But in your just initial descriptions of it, I was in because I do like trick taking. I do like the ideas of it being variable from round to round. But it's the same way we've discussed after a few different rule books we've run into recently of, boy, the game from the rule book versus the game in execution.
Yep.
Very different.
Very
things.
different games.
We'll go ahead and go higher in score order. I'm giving this a 3. This is a hard trade for me. Yeah, I mean, I'd play it again if people really wanted to, but I would not play the full 9. I would tell people, like, we're playing 3 or 6. I do not want to play 6 deals per person. That's just too much. But I think there's some neat ideas. The print was fine as far as the production. I would like a different theme. Like, I just have enough things against it. But, I mean, I would play it again. I wouldn't be happy to, but I would play it again.
I would probably go ahead and give this one maybe a high 5 or a low 6, mainly because there is a lot of things that I could see could be improved on the game, but there are also some really interesting things that I would love to see it come back on the table in different aspects. I would love to go ahead and see how this plays with an even amount of people, because I think that would go ahead and change my thoughts on it drastically. because I do feel like there's too much manipulation in how you get to go ahead and pick who gets to play together and who is solo. And one more other point of contention for that part is I do think that because one of the biggest pet peeves I have is when people blatantly table talk for stuff like euchre. I can understand, if you have a reaction like, oh, my hand's crap, and your face makes that, or, like you have body language that may put it out there. But when somebody just comes out and is just like, oh, I should just fold now, or you should just go alone. Like,
I
stuff
can't
like
believe
that.
I got this many nines.
Yeah.
You don't do that. The cool part about the board selection here is that you get to see what people get to go ahead and put their Nyets on. And so, in a sense, when you're playing in opposition to somebody or when somebody's on your team, you can see what they picked as a no. And essentially, you can have a really good idea about what's in their hand based on what they picked.
I do not want to play as a 2.
Oh,
ever.
no.
And 5, frankly, this to me feels like it's going to be best at 4 as a partnership game
I would
because
agree.
of everything you just said. If I were to play it as a full partnership game, this can maybe be 4 or 5.
This still sits at a high 6, low 7 for me. It shows its age. Honestly, probably should put it at the 6 because of its age. There is so many other games that are out there that are a lot better. This still has a nostalgic feel. So like that 6 is because of the reason why it's not lower is because of nostalgia.
Sure.
And nostalgia will keep it probably at a 6 for a little while longer until something's better. But yeah, that was Nyet by Yellow.
Hey, everybody. Normally you hear Scott's voice at this point, but today I get to announce a really cool partnership. For Season 2, we are going to be sponsored by Secret Door Games in Elkhart, Indiana. We'll give you more info about that at the beginning of the season, but for now, we wanted to let you know about their 10 years of gaming celebration. It's coming up on Saturday, September 13th, and Secret Door is going to be holding their 10th anniversary party and hosting games, special guests, events, giving away prizes, and of course, sales. So, check them out on Saturday, September 13th from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Time over at 215 South Main Street in Elkhart, Indiana. You can also find out more details on Secret Door themselves at their website, secretdoorgames.org, where they also have a link to their Facebook event page for the anniversary party. Thanks again to Secret Door for sponsoring us, and congratulations on 10 years of gaming.
Well, it's time for some table, shelf, and trade, y'all. All right, Mark.
Yes.
What is going to be on your docket for table, shelf, and trade?
I picked up Wrath of Fire Mountain at Gen Con, and, it was decently priced. It's a game right game. Of course, it's in a tin, which is very annoying. But what ultimately had me look at this game is the fact that it is Phil Walker Harding, who is known for Super Mega Lucky Box and Imhotep and Sushi Go. He's such a wonderful and prolific and interesting designer with light mechanisms. He's honestly one of my favorite designers. And his design partner on Wrath of Fire Mountain is Eric Lang, one of my least favorite designers. No offense to Mr. Lang, he actually designs incredibly well-designed games. I just don't like them because they have a huge dollop of mean normally. And so when you look at Wrath of Fire Mountain, it is very specifically a take that area majority game. Again, this is one of those rule books that we read and like, oh, this is much higher in the game than what we expected from reading the rules and teaching the game. Because the way the game functions, you have a handful of dice that you're going to roll, and those are going to tell you where you can put guys out, if you can move the guys, if you are able to land on the volcano, all kinds of stuff. And there's a few different area majority things going on here, which I do like. And I think that that is a mixture of both designers, honestly, because you have the volcano, which if somebody's put on the volcano, then you're going for that majority. And if you have majority, or at least tie for it, then you get to physically shift the grid. And the grid itself, depending on how things are lined up, so long as at least two identical tiles are next to each other, that turns into a scoring opportunity. And so when the volcano does finally fill up and you score, there's a really great mechanism within there of whoever has the strict control of it gets the points, but then all their stuff is pulled off the board, which means you're kind of resetting yourself, but it also means that whoever's in second place now is in control. And so there's some really cool balance going on that way. The problem is you can just be really, really viciously mean and just shove people into a corner. You can split up a group very easily if you're in control, and you might be in control of the volcano just by sheer dint of the fact that that's all you rolled. So you have some luck thrown on there, which you did a couple of your rolls where you rolled volcanoes into volcanoes into volcanoes.
Yep.
And you just had volcanoes.
Yep.
So you have some push your luck, you have some meanness, and it lasts surprisingly long. Like, it says 30 minutes on the tin, and it might only be 30 minutes, but it felt so much longer than those 30 minutes.
It felt a little bit longer.
And the point scoring is interesting. I like the way it works, but then again, you could have somebody score 15 points on a single turn when somebody else scores 1. I had way more dudes on the table than either of you guys did. Couldn't ever move them, ever.
Yeah.
Like, I could buy them and I could get them onto the cave in the hut, but they never once got onto the table. So I scored much lower than you guys. Again, that is not a complaint of, oh, woe is me, I lost. It's really frustrating of, I have all these resources and I can't do anything with them.
Yeah.
It was wild because, like, even when we shifted stuff, it wasn't like I meant to put you in the corner. You just accidentally got there. And it was like, well, I could do that to undo it, but then I completely goof over my game.
Yeah, like, the choices you were making were the opposite. Like, if you wanted to play well, and you guys were wanting to play well, those were the moves you did. Mm-hmm. At one point, Jason, there's like the second or third turn, it's like, it'd be funny to do this. I think that was the last time we had that haha, because after you realized, because you did something to yourself, you're like, oh no. And then it became, I'm sorry, I don't want to do this, but gotta do this.
Yeah, this is what's going to score me points. And the whole luck episode of, rolling all the volcanoes.
Yeah.
It meant I kept being in control of the volcano. I moved the volcano more than either of you.
Basically, from like turn 3 or 4 on, you were the only person to move the volcano.
And I was like, okay, I'll put a couple guys on there, because sure, if I could move the volcano, that's great. But then it was like, cool, I want to roll something. Cool, I'm going to put a guy out there. I'm awesome. That's great. And then I roll something else, and then and I'm like, okay, great. I'm putting 3 guys in the volcano. Oh, look, the volcano's moving.
And there was specifically for like round 3, I had already had the chance to get some really cool dinosaurs that give you some really cool ways to score more points. Mm-hmm. And the way that I rolled, they got put onto one location. And by round 4, that location got locked in by two water areas. Uh-huh. And for the rest of the game, both of those dinosaurs got to do absolutely nothing for me.
Yep.
So I got to score next to no points by the end of the game, which, still to be said, out of the, I think, 20-some points that you got, I was at 19.
Yeah, you were just behind me by 1 or 2. Yeah.
But it could have been so much different, but my entire game got caught up because I got stuck on an island.
Looking at this on a score, I'm coming in, this is a trade for me, but there's a 4, because I know the group I can recommend this to. Mm-hmm. This is great for people that like mean games, that don't mind that randomness, that want to play potentially with families. You have variability. There are 8 different dinosaurs. You only play with 4 in a game. And I like the fact that you can only ever have 4 dinosaurs. So even if you have gone out of your way to get all the eggs, you've probably given up something else in that process.
Yeah.
But it's mean, it has randomness, it has the ability to just get tanked because, oh, hey, the volcano is over there and it's not coming back over this way. That's unfortunate. Yeah. This is a really, really good blend of these 2 design styles. Mm-hmm. I can easily look and say, this was Walker Harding, this was Lang, this is where they both overlapped, and I am going to make some guesses as to who made these final choices, but the production is good, the dinosaurs are fun, we had fun, you had Unga Chunga and Dunga or whatever, and I had Thag and Thog, and we got into it. So I think my 4 is because I can recommend this. It is at a good price point. It is something that I could easily see being sold at a Target or a Meijer or whatever, where somebody's like, ooh, this looks fun. Yeah, if you are the right audience for this, I am just clearly the wrong audience, because I went in thinking Phil Walker Harding, area majority. And what I got was Eric Lang and me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a 4, but this is one that I can and will recommend to people.
I hated this game. It's got the randomness of dice, which basically leads your entire play, which, you get to go ahead and roll your dice 3 times and you stick with that result after the 3rd one, Yahtzee style, which is great. But for people that have just the worst dice luck ever, this is an absolute trade for me. And playing this with you, I'm glad that you got this game, because I am never going to pick it up.
Yeah, this, unfortunately, it's probably the lowest of a table. Like, it's right teetering on the line, because, yeah, it's like on that 5. I know who I would suggest this to. I could see playing it, like, if I was going to play with one of my younger nephews or something like that. I wouldn't want to play it with my friends that we play normal games, because I didn't want to be mean. I just ended up being mean. because I have the most guys in this zone. I'm not going to slide the volcano so that makes it a group of 3 and a group of 2. No, I'm going to keep it as much as I can as a group of 5. And I'm really sorry. There was several times where I went, I'm really sorry that I'm going to do this. And I did it because
and I knew
had
you
to.
had to, because if you didn't, you would screw your game and Jason would win. To be optimal, you had to do it. I'm not mad at that.
But the whole thing is there was times if I did it, I'm screwing him too. Like,
I was stuck for most of the game.
we both were stuck. And I'm just like...
You bought 2 expensive dinosaurs that came out of that hut and never left.
They scored once really well.
Well, yeah, that's what caught you up to me.
Yep.
But, like, you guys were first to get the dinosaurs. I was like, oh, God, I got to get dinosaurs. It didn't matter.
No.
They didn't matter
'Cause I
whatsoever.
couldn't move them. I bought a pterodactyl. Couldn't go anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And I'm a person who likes dice games because I have great dice luck. But at the end of the game, it didn't really matter because, okay, great. I get to move the volcano, which is important.
And you score a bunch of points for it.
And I scored, I got to set up the game and basically wait till the volcano was done. And there was no strategy. It's just, hey, be mean to your friends type of game.
You didn't feel good about the win.
No.
Yeah.
Heck no.
I think that's important.
Scott, you've beat up on Wrathfire Mountain. What did you bring?
I'm going to stay positive with both of mine, but I'm going to start with the one that is my table. It's Middle Ages.
Oh, man, I am real excited to do that full review.
It's King Domino, Queen Domino with more stakes, and I want to speak highly about this. The fact that the picture that you get at the end of the game is so flipping cool. And I really want to put lots of curse words in here, folks, but I can't. Because, mind you, you have your row of your buildings. This is where you have to place these, and they just sit and set on top of each other. And every time you choose it, you do the power underneath it based on whatever its scoring opportunities. And the fact that when you're done, you sit there and you have this really pretty, almost stained glass-like setting is absolutely incredible and unbelievable. I was not expecting that when we started playing this game. And the fact that you have the ability to make certain things worth more points or having it count for this and that, like, it is almost a shelf for me. It is definitely a high 7. It's just ridiculous. And the fact that each of the pieces is cut in a way that you absolutely know where it's going to go. And then the sides, they're cut so that the other pieces that sit next to them slide right in. Like, it's just... It is almost in itself a shelf, but it's very much a high table. I want to play it a couple more times before I sit there and like lock it in, but had so much fun that it definitely had to be on my list as my table.
That's the reason why I haven't brought it up in this particular context yet, because that first play was so good. And I am really curious to see if it pans out that way over more plays. Because, I mean, my first instinct, and we were 3 points apart.
Yeah.
When we looked back at the score for our game, this would probably be a 9.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is Marc-Andre, which is the designer of Splendor, and it's a reimplementation, and it's all these various components and all this stuff, like, you can be mean, you don't have to be.
We chose not to be.
But you know what? We also looked at each other and said, if we were playing this in a 5-player game, we know that's just going to be part of the game because you're slapping everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Did you not get enough barracks? Well, sorry, dude. Like, or not enough walls. I got enough barracks. I'm coming after you. But because you're throwing the bomb into the center, you're not targeting anybody.
No.
And I think that's such a big difference of why I like this and I don't like Wrathfire Mountain is that attack is indirect.
Yeah, like we said, it's King Domino. My choice is this or this. Well, I don't need that one, so I'm going to choose this one, and I'm so sorry it's going to hit everybody, but it's going to hit everybody.
But you can also play it the way we did of, you know what, these choices are about equal for me. I'm going to take the one that's not as mean.
Right.
Or if you want to play it the other way, I'm going for you.
Right.
Like, there's some really, really excellent stuff in this. I'm very excited to play more because this one is, especially at its price point of only $35, just stellar.
And the sheer fact that the game gives you that option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Because some games you don't have an option. You just have to be mean.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm really sad that you weren't here to play it, Jason, but like,
I mean, it's a shelf for me right off. I'm not willing to go beyond that because we have only played it the once.
Yeah.
But man, whoo.
Yeah.
It's good.
Having it in front of me, it does look like it's a very pretty game. It's got some really nice, like, stained glass motif there, and then kind of almost building a city. I really enjoy that. Looking at it, there are different pieces that, while a lot of them are unique in cut, so you can kind of have a realm of variability in every game you play.
Oh, yeah, your tableau looks different.
oh yeah.
The iconography in this is very clear, so I don't think that anybody with any kind of, like, color accessibility issues might have any problems problems with that, which is excellent. All of the symbols and everything are pretty clear and easy.
Good rule book too. For being 4 pages.
Yeah.
Most of the rule book is actually a glossary, and there's actually like, I don't know, maybe 8 paragraphs of actual rules. It's so good.
Well, and I think what was so nice for me, because of course, outside of the stream, we always joke about my spacey brain, and sometimes I'm not always paying attention, or not meaning to not be paying attention. But the fact that, how many times did I look at the rule book? Once? Just for a clarification? But that was like super early, and then once we were done, we've played games where I'm like, every round, I'm going, what does this do again? Oh, Tribes of the Wind. There was a couple of mechanics I was like, these look similar enough.
Yeah.
I need to make sure I'm getting the right thing to do it.
Not the case here.
Not the case here. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. Jason, what do you have on your table shelf and trade?
My first table shelf and trade, I went for 2 relatively positive games that we've got to go ahead and play pretty recently because I wanted to go ahead and make sure that they were nice and fresh in my mind. One of them I'm going to go ahead and start out with is called Veil of Eternity, that you mentioned earlier. We got to throw that down on the table and play in a 4-player game. It's very cool. It gives me this kind of Pokemon meets Magic, where you guys are essentially picking from a randomized well of different characters from different regions, and all of the characters have different abilities that are either continuous, that are instant, that are every turn you can tap them, much like you would different like artifacts and stuff in Magic. But the artwork on it is really cool. It's got this kind of cartoonish but epic style of artwork on there too. I had a really good time playing this, and it seems like there is so many different engines that you can build with it that this is going to be different every game. I found a good one very early in the game, but I feel like next game can be completely different, where you can go ahead and focus on maybe getting dragons or finding different people in the water area. It's just really, really cool on how they set up the game and how many different little mechanisms in here that make the variability so huge, but at the same time seem like such a simple play.
Yeah, for a game that has, I think it's something like 70, 75 cards in it, there's not a ton in there. But what I have found with Veil of Eternity, because after the first time we played it a while ago, I'm like, I need to play this more. And I have kept going back to this well, and I'm very excited that the expansion, because this game has flat out replaced Res Arcana and Knit of Lear for me.
Okay.
Because it has that variable engine of, just because these 2 cards are together right now, they may never be again. Even if they are, maybe the conditions aren't right. So for this game, I have made this work, but I'm not going to have to sit there and be like, oh, that card's really strong. Like, no, because it's all situational.
Yeah.
It has replaced Knit of Lear because the way the bidding works, because it's essentially bidding, even though you're not paying anything, you're just saying, this is mine. There are always such interesting choices on the table of, ooh, what do I want to leave my opponents? Because there's some, like, in some cases, yeah, it's like, that is really good for my engine, I want that. But at the same time, boy, I'm willing to just take it just to sell it so I have some money. But so it's done that for me in the Knit of Lear thing. And it lives right next to Libertalia of that every game is different, your situation is different. It's so good. And the art is, I think I said in the 4-player game we were playing with Clarky, I was just like, I can't tell if I love this art or hate this art. Because card by card, it's very whatever. But the art is still, it makes such a good theme. It's such a great game. Really enjoying it. I like the fact you picked this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a very high 7 for me because I really, really did enjoy the game. I don't know if I would be able to bring it out very much or if I'd want to go ahead and throw this down all the time. I think this is a game that I would play, go ahead and have a very, very interesting round for game for us. And then it would go ahead and be a little bit before I want to go and bring it back out again.
Sure.
Because it's not one that you need to have multiple playthroughs to go ahead and understand or like really get an engine. So it's not that brain burning that you have to worry about that. So it's going to be a very high 7, almost to an 8 for me.
Sure. I would be willing to call this a shelf, and I would give this an 8 right now.
The first time that you and I played it, I was very neutral, almost neutral negative.
Because I remember you being neutral positive, but I was so positive, maybe I was looking at it through that lens too.
Well, because I just remember, like, I didn't get stuff to really, really work. And with us playing with a full table, really, really enjoyed it.
I think it scales really well.
Yeah.
At any player count, I've enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Now that I've had a better experience with it, because, I mean, I had a great little engine going. It was very nice for me. I didn't win, but I didn't care.
Your turnaround at the end, that was huge.
Boy, that was great. I love that one. Getting that guy that got to copy stuff, that was nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all situational.
It's all situational. And now having such a positive game, yeah, it's definitely on the table for me. Because, yeah, I know when you were like, hey, we're going to play this again. And I think that's the thing. We've played stuff where I know I've had a negative reaction and I've gone, eh. And this one I went, I don't remember where I sit with this. So I can't sit there and say I was positive or negative. So that's why I definitely feel like I was in that very neutral spot. Yeah, this would definitely be high 6, almost a 7. I definitely want to give it another shot back at 2, since that was the first time we played it, was just the 2 of us, to see, was it because of the player count, or was it just happened I had a bad time because of what was available?
Yep.
And yeah, it's just really, really neat.
There is a couple things to note in here. Some of the powers can be a little bit of a take that for a couple of the cards.
Yep.
It can.
But it didn't seem like a lot of them, which was the redeeming quality for me, was that it seemed like maybe 1 or 2 from each area that you can pull from was just like, yeah, go ahead and bomb this air card or bomb this water card from this other player's area.
Well, and every time it popped up, it was you pick a player and then they pick one that they lose. So, I mean, yeah, if they only have 1 water card, well, maybe that's the key to the engine.
Yeah.
True.
Well, there was time that you had one of those and you went, hey, Scott, get rid of your this. And I went, I don't even have what. Oh.
Yeah. So-
or that was the card we chose to sell when it was one of the cards that we picked.
Yep. And that was a trend that kept for the rest of the
It
game.
was the
too.
game that, yeah, because we were all like,
Yeah, this
hey, we're
game
having
can
a great
be as
time.
mean as you want it to be.
Yeah.
Really is what it breaks down to.
It really is. That's a good choice. Good choice.
Thank you.
Going back to you.
Okay, so it's fun that I have been so positive on this last round of games because I'm about to get real positive. So
I'm excited.
I have stated on this podcast multiple times that Legend of the Five Rings is my favorite IP. Doesn't matter if we're talking movies, TV, board games, I don't care. L5R is my favorite IP. Because the clan structure and the history and the way it all interacts with each other is so interesting. And, we're talking about when we're playing this game, the Mantis clan is in. And at this point in the history of the game that we are playing in L5R, Mantis clan is a minor clan. They are not a major. But because they are mercantile, they are important. And there's a reason they're here. River of Gold is, quite frankly, an anomaly for me. Because it has roll and move, it has deep economic ties, and it has a lot of competitive, aggressive motion of, I need to take that spot before you can take this spot, because if I do it, then I'm going to start prospering instead of you. And it has a Scorpion clan in there, and screw every Scorpion clan player, Crane forever. So we also go into this, and I have played it digitally a few times, and then I finally got to sit down with it. And just on a production level, photos do not make this game look anywhere near as gorgeous as it is.
No.
This being Office Dog's first production, and I believe this is Keith Pigot's first design as well. If he has something else, there's not a lot with this guy's name. Let's put it that way. And the fact that I'm coming into this, and I tell you guys, it's my favorite IP. And somebody was out of the room, and so I just started breaking down all the clans, and I started doing my whole thing. And there's a lot of hand motions, and there's a lot of hand motions right now. And anytime I get this excited about a game, Scott does not like it. And it's not like you hate it, but Obsession, Obsession.
And I went, it's okay.
I still think you should play it more. You need to play it again. I think you'll like it more as you experience it more, but that's also just me and my love of Obsession.
Right.
So when I look at this game, and if it did not have the theme on it, I wouldn't have looked at it at all. I will very easily admit that. And then you have this stunning production. And if it didn't have the stunning production, I wouldn't look at it. But you know what? It has that theme, it has that production, and this game is a perfect 10 for me. This is the definition of a shelf game for me. This is one that is a reason to do why did I play that? Because the player interaction is direct, it is constant, it can feel targeted in a way that it's not. Despite the fact it is roll and move, you have so much dice mitigation. There is never a moment in this game where I feel like I cannot do what I want or need to do because, oh, yeah, I rolled a 2. I can nudge that over to a 1, and now I can start playing with the area control up on top. I can mess with the influence tracks because I know if I put myself in a certain spot, that Scorpion Clan jerk is going to jump me and get extra. So, you know what? I am going to go further down. I'm going to move on this track. I'm not even going to care that he's there. There's so many brilliant, wonderful decisions and moments. You have the tactical response of what buildings are down there versus the long-term strategy of where am I going to position myself, because you have those essentially end-of-game scoring conditions with the masteries of, do I care about having a set of 3 of a building? That's not in this game? Cool, I don't care. Oh, it is in this one. Oh, and it's one of the ones that is with, I need one of every building type. How am I going to capitalize on that? Do I need to? Do I care to? Then you put in the patron mini expansion where you get that card that gives you that one extra asymmetric power. And man, the only complaint I can truly have about this game is that not every clan is in it. That's it. You could easily expand that in, but at the same time, the Phoenix, not really mercantile. Makes sense they're not in the game. And there's not a solo mode. That's it. Those are my complaints. The clans aren't fully represented, even though thematically it makes no sense for them to be represented, so I'm not going to hold that against it. And there's no solo mode. Oh, darn. Perfect. 10 out of 10. If it's anywhere lower than 20 on my top 100, I will be shocked.
From outside to in, the artwork and just the entirety of how well they have produced this game, you can see all the way through all the levels that they really brought it home to go ahead and make it pop out, make it special, make you realize that this is a really interesting area. And I think that if this is your first game of Legend of the Five Rings, it's going to go ahead and get you intrigued into what is this world about. And I think that's a really cool aspect to go ahead and take a look at. There is so many different mechanisms in this game about traveling down a river that you can have so many different ways to score, and all of these different strategies, depending upon what your patron power is, can be huge. It is a very well put together game, and I think that we had a pretty friendly game all the way through. There wasn't really any aspect of it where we were trying to take anything from anybody else. In fact, the cool part about it is when somebody makes a building, every time that someone visits it, that person will go ahead and get a score, but then the person that owns it also gets to go ahead and get some type of a score, whether it be from your resources, from an actual victory point stand, or if it's just more influence on the tracks of that area. I do really, really like that, and I think it's cool that no matter what, people get to kind of have a trade back and forth of, yeah, that's my building, but when you visit it, we both get some cool stuff out of it. The other interesting part is all of the different variations in the victory point cards that you can go and take a look at, whether it comes to different buildings, or if you have a certain amount of buildings of the same type. As soon as you get that, you can score that, and it gives you an extra bump of victory points up there. I think that's really cool because it shows a ton of variation in this game to go and make it hugely different. And the fact that each clan has a couple different patrons means that you can go ahead and play this differently so many different times. And I think that that is a big testament of games that you could put this out a number of times in a week, a month, whatever, and it's going to be a different game every single time.
What would you score this?
It would be a shelf for me. I'm going to go ahead and set this up at a 9, and the only reason why I don't give it a solid 10 is that I do feel in our playthrough, and this is not to dog the game at all, this is my experience with my mental state and everything for it, there was a bit too much going on for me to be able to pay attention to everybody's movements and everybody's...
There's a lot on this board by the end of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Yeah, and again, that has nothing to do with dogging the game at all because it's awesome. But if you're burnt out or if you just don't have that kind of higher level of thinking, it could go ahead and make it a little bit... You might be a little lost.
And I think my love of the theme covers that for me.
Yeah.
100%.
Which is fair.
With it being L5R, and the only real experience with L5R that I have is that of it as a tabletop role-playing, having played the original and then when they got slid over into Dungeons & Dragons. I mean, this is Office Dog's first game. It's a big swing, and the fact that you're dealing with an IP that a lot of people love, maybe not as much as Mark does, but a lot of people love, and it be an economic game and just the way that the mechanics worked, I was sitting there going, oh, this is going to be hard. This is going to be rough. I'm definitely positive. This is definitely, for me, it is a shelf. It is between an 8 to a 9. Like, it's right there. It's got some things in there that I really, really like. I was thankful that you really couldn't be that mean to each other. It was nice. It's a long game. It's a lot of rinse and repeat. So I think maybe that, and with it being so long, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this thing again.
The box does say 60 to 90 minutes. I think 90 to 120 is probably a truer
Yes.
statement.
That's
Yeah,
more fair.
yeah.
Because I have played this faster, and in lower player counts, it does play faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense.
There was a couple times I kind of felt like I was starting to tread on that line of analysis paralysis, but it's a solid game. Yeah, so congratulations. It's finally a game that you are absolutely obsessed about, and I didn't absolutely slaughter. Surprise!
We have another segment. That's the surprise.
That's the surprise. Yeah, so our next segment is our rotating segment, which is Surprise Party, hence why I yelled a surprise. This is always a game that surprised us, whether positively or negatively. If it is a game that you just were expecting a lot out of and it just did not meet expectations, or if it was a game that you were like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy this, and holy wow, that just surprised the living poo out of me. Mark, why don't you start us off?
Okay, so I feel like every time we come into this segment, I come in negative, and well, it's not changing on this one, unfortunately. We have established over the runtime of our podcast that Stonemeyer's my favorite publisher. They just are.
Yeah.
All the things. There's the games that made us, segments on them, all the things. IV is my second. I love what IV does. You've watched me lose my mind over Veiled Fate. You've watched me lose my mind and then punt it down a football field because of Scales of Fate. And then we have Fractured Sky.
Yeah.
And this one hurts because it is bluffing and it's area majority and it's the stupid, ridiculous, beautiful production that Ivy is known for, and it just fails in almost every way for him. When we talked about Mythic Mischief, I gave the game a 5, but I sat there and I said, the 5 is only for my personal experience. For anybody that likes an abstract game, it is an 8, a 9. It could be somebody's favorite game as a 10. There is amazing design work and amazing production done with Mythic Mischief that, frankly, I am just too bad to get to that point.
Right.
And that's fine. I have no issues with that. I don't like having a 5 as my score for it, but realistically, for my experience, that's what it is. I can at least look at Mythic Mischief and say, you're an abstract player, pick it up, it's great. I can't do that with Fractured Sky. I can't. Because on a thematic level, it's a cool idea for a theme. A star has fallen apart. It's landed on Earth. It's caused cursed islands to raise up. And we are trying to collect pieces of this fallen star to give to this weird, like, celestial octopus thing to earn a wish, Dragon Ball style. Yeah, the amount that theme just is going to affect your life is about as much as it affects the game. It's not there. You have, frankly, ugly artwork for the faction boards, which don't make sense because they're normally so interesting. Even when we talk about, you mentioned Realm of Reckoning earlier, I may not have been the biggest fan of the artwork for it, but I can see what they were doing, I can see who it's for, and I can see why it works for that game. For as essentially straightforward and serious as the board looks, the player factions, which, by the way, this is the only place they're on display, look like a Saturday morning kids cartoon. It's just a weird thematic choice, and then you put in the weird color combinations off the trays, and I'm pretty sure that I've paired them off together, but I'm also, frankly, not sure at all, so I could have been wrong the way I set them up. The production itself of the ships and everything is very good. I like the magnets, the clickety-clackety. They're great. They are functional because they do 100% hide what you are putting out. And so where's somebody going? Do they know something? Do they not know something? Are they trying to bluff with this? There is some interesting linkage of the mechanisms with the player actions there. But then you have some production issues with, like, the objective and hidden starfall tray. I'm not sure why that's not a single piece. There's some weird stuff there. But if I have to pick something to just, like, stake a flag and say, like, this is the problem, you don't get resources. To be able to effectively maneuver in this game, you need resources. And I can make as many personal reads off of people as I want, and I'm able to. And I can tell, oh, Jason picked the Creepy Cove, and he went there because when he saw a hidden starfall that he took wood from, he didn't go there. Instead, he's over here. Why is he over here? Like, you can make those distinctions if you are paying that much attention. But at the end of the day, you can't build buildings if you don't have resources. And you only get resources if you either have built buildings or you have lost the starfalls. And unfortunately, the starfalls are entirely random. They just are. And then you put in the Rift expansion, which may well be one of the worst expansions I've ever interacted with, because the starfalls are now different colors. They're gorgeous. The little metal dudes that I have are absolutely stunning. But it rewards you for set collection of colors, which is random. You don't know which one's going to come out on any of the islands. And you don't even know what islands are going to come out. And there is a moment in the game where you can have been playing for 90 minutes and still look at the board and say, I have no idea where anything's going to be because it's all random. And no matter what my deduction off of my fellow players is, they may just be willing to sacrifice what their overall strength is because they have a supportive buildings, or they're willing to just take the overall hit knowing that they play 13. They still have potentially 7 on that one airship. I want to like it. And I go in and I look at it. It's Ivy. It's area control, and it is set collection, and it's deduction. It's all the things. This one was a really, really big disappointment for me.
I tried in all of the gameplay that we did, I tried so many different strategies because I wanted to try to feel out which one would be kind of like the meta for it. But in all honesty, and I won the game. Mm-hmm. This is Dumb Luck, the board game. And I don't feel like you should have some feeling of happiness or like joy or something from winning a game. Even if it's a mean game and you were mean to your friends, like you might feel a little bit bad because you were mean and that's how you won. I won and I was just like, okay, cool.
The seeming lack of player agency in this, you still feel like you're doing something unlike the game of life. But at the end of the day, it's just about as random.
Yeah. This, unfortunately, I was expecting more, and it unfortunately did not live up. Jason, what game surprised you?
So
hopefully positively?
This one is very, very positive.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Right now, most of the games that I've had an experience with, barring Fractured Sky, they have been pretty positive.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of them, like Bacon, that I didn't really enjoy. But this one that really surprised me, and it was especially during a time where we've been inundated with these types of like big group deduction games where you get to have a narrator and tell a story and have everybody just kind of like play their roles, and it's been so much fun to jump into that. And it was like at the height of games when you just started playing like Cards Against Humanity and you're like, ha ha ha, I love this game, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But then, you play it for the 50th time and you're like, this
card again. Great.
Yeah, that's how I started feeling about games like Werewolf and things like that. And then Mark brought out Blood on the Clock Tower to play. And it really just changed the whole scene. When he first talked about it and was like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this group. We're going to, have this. I was like, oh yeah, we've played like, Werewolf and stuff before. We played Vampire before, whatever.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll go ahead and come in and play with you. And then he brings out this big tome, and all of a sudden there's so many of these different characters that you can play, and there's essentially 2.5 sides because of the outsiders that you can go ahead and have in there, and the modularity for what characters you can put in, it makes the game so interesting that as long as you have a group of people that are even a fraction of an interest that we do, it is such a fun game. And we have played it quite a few times now. Mark's played it a ton. We've played it a few together, and each of those experiences has been very different, and I have loved it every time.
I think my favorite part about Blood on the Clock Tower, yes, there's all the little rolls and everything like that. I think my favorite part, and it's actually because I think the reason why you enjoy it so much, because you so often have to be the head person, the amount of roles that you get to play Because it's not you're just running the game. You're actually almost like that other random player because you could give information if you wanted to. You don't have to, depending on who you're talking to, because you know what actually has happened. They actually are the drunk. They don't know that they're drunk. They think they're the seer. So I'm going to keep giving them information thinking that they're the seer, but they're... That's the part that I love because you're not just there supervising. You are very much as much an active person. And I think what has always been my favorite is also because, yeah, werewolf's fun. Vampire's fun. At the end of the day, it's still a mediocre game. I talk about the things that we've gotten done after we've played Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yep.
Last Gen Con, the fact that you sat there, you went, I bleepity love you, Scott. The fact that you almost convinced everybody, and you sat there, you was like, wait, this didn't happen. That means we have this on the board, and it was the role I was playing in. I had everybody convinced until the very last round that I wasn't a bad guy, and then they got us, but still, they were completely snowed.
I mean, I love Blood on the Clock Tower.
Yeah.
I have amazing stories from Blood on the Clock Tower. That girl, I don't remember her name, but she took part in the game in 2023 at Gen Con.
Oh my goodness.
And she literally walked up to us. It's like, so how many tickets is this?
Yeah.
I'm like, no. It's like, this is just us playing. She's like, oh, okay. Never mind. And before she walked in, I'm like, but if you want to play, like, join. Like, that's the joy of the way I do my games. Like, just come in. And she was spectacular.
She was the demon.
Yeah.
So good.
We still talk about her because of the stuff that she pulled off.
Yeah.
Never seen her before. Never seen her since. Welcome to Blood on Clock Tower. I can talk a lot about Blood from the negative side, and I will say this because I think the game is worth it. Learning it is a bear. That rulebook is good, but there's a lot there. Setting up an individual game is an enormous amount. And if you're not somebody that is willing to play with a lot of asymmetric powers, or you are not willing to not be able to trust the information I'm giving you 100%, because as the storyteller, if you are poisoned, and if you are a poisoner that is poisoned, that means that you think that you have turned off 3 other people's powers, and instead yours is off, and so the information you have given me, I am ignoring. Like, there's so many little permutations like that. There's a lot to keep going. But I never feel more mischievous than when I'm running that game. I have so much fun running that game.
Oh, we can tell.
It's a joy. No other game gets me to stand up and do as silly a things as I do in that game. Mischievous is really the right word for it.
You come out and you're like, you come up, it's just and I am dead on... You're yelling, and all these people are like, what is going on? And it just starts from there.
It's a great game.
It's a great game.
It is so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Beautiful.
surprised the heck out of me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will take that as a referendum on me as well, because that game really does hang on the storyteller sometimes.
Very much so.
Yeah. Yeah. So my surprise party, I'm just going to go right into it, is actually River of Gold.
Oh, great.
Nice.
All right. I know you talked about it earlier. I looked at this huge board. I looked at how pretty it was. I was like, well, at least I got something pretty to look at for however long this game is going to take. I did not have high expectations. I was just like, okay, I like this mechanic. I like the idea of, okay, the boats, I roll my die. I can move this boat or I can move that boat. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Once you get to the end of the river, you float to the top. You have this little mechanism that happens at the bottom. Okay, sure, cool, okay. And then we start playing it. And go pick up the game. It's a good game.
It's only $50.
And once you get into it, it's really worth it. Yeah, this is by far an incredible game.
With the exception of Dice Throne.
Yeah.
This is the highest score you've given a game on this podcast.
Dang.
I mean, it's good.
Thank you so much for listening to us. If you'd like to get in touch with Scott and myself or any of the other theater geeks in relation to Board All the Time, you can hit us up at boardallthetimegaming@gmail.com, on Blue Sky at boardallthetime.bsky.social. You can visit us on our website, boardallthetime.com, where we have a newsletter sign-up, feedback form, archive of our episodes, and links to all of our social media, including our Facebook page. You can also join us on our Discord. The server link is in the episode notes. And finally, we'd like to ask that if you enjoy our episodes, please give us the like and follow us on your platform of choice. We know you hear that a lot, but after doing this many episodes, we really do now understand how important it is to help the show grow. Regardless, thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
All right. Well, it has been an emotional roller coaster on this episode. We have had some real ups and some real downs. At least I have.
We actually picked games that are like some of your favorite, and we actually went, we agree.
Yeah, it's nice. unsurprising.
Don't sit in that.
All right, get out of my house.
Just wait till next time.
Exactly.
I'll grill some games. Now.
there we go. Sounds like a
know.
plan.
Yeah, I was so nice this time.
You were. It's true.
Yeah,
Get out.
Go play games, people.
I'm going to bed.
Scart!
I hate you.